All right, another thing that a lot of people have been talking about within the past couple of days is the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, how much success that the movie had. And the movie was something that was surprisingly a lot better than what people would have expected. And not only that, it was one that appealed to both fans of the series and casual gamers. It even surpassed Detective Pikachu as far as like, making money opening week. But as far as like how much money it made in terms of box office, it didn't make as much as Detective Pikachu. But it should be noted that Sonic the Hedgehog, the film that just came out recently, I believe the budget was around 95 million. Box office wide, it made at least 113 million. And Detective Pikachu, which came out back in May of 2019, its budget was 150 million dollars, while box office wise managed to earn $433 million. So as far as which game or which movie was better, it really depends on who you ask, and it really depends on what you're more of a fan of, as far as each respective series is concerned. But it seems like, Sonic the Hedgehog in general, the series has been making a huge comeback as of late. I mean, you have this successful movie that we just got. We also had, like in the teens decade, it seemed like in a way, it seemed like the Sonic the Hedgehog series was making a comeback. I mean, you started off the teens decade with Sonic Colors, which I believe came out in 2010, Sonic Generation, which came out the following year in 2011. We got Sonic Mania back in 2017, which is probably the best, Sonic game that we've seen throughout the teens decade in general. And then we got this film right here. So I think it's safe to say that, the Sonic the Hedgehog series is making a huge comeback. And this was a really good film that was directed by Jeff Fowler. And Jim Carrey, whether people want to admit it or not, played a really good villain as Dr. Robotnik. And thank God they got rid of Dr. Eggman, because a lot of people have been sick of, Robotnik using that name for years, because Robotnik was his original name. And I don't know, like the name Robotnik just feels more legitimate as far as, you know, for someone who's supposed to be the lead antagonist of a video game or any kind of movie series or whatever in general. So it's pretty cool that you know Dr. Eggman's now Dr. Robotnik again, and thank God they did something about that awful CGI design with Sonic the Hedgehog when the movie was first revealed, when we saw the first reveal trailer, because the original design, mainly with the eyes, just looked horrifying. And I believe there was an online petition that went around to try and change the CGI design for Sonic, and I believe it went through. And it turns out that the directors and the producers listened to requests. They changed Sonic the Hedgehog's the design. It looks a lot better, and it's something that a lot of people are just impressed with. I mean, it's like, I don't know. Some people, criticize it for just, lacking, originality and stuff like that. But for the most part, it seemed like there's been more positive than negative reviews for this movie in general. And the cool thing about this movie is the fact that, instead of it like everything taking place in a parallel universe, it's like basically Sonic the Hedgehog comes to Earth and deals with I guess real problems and stuff like that. And there's a bit of character development that's there, where he's on Earth for a while, and then he makes friends with this one person that's been there. And it's pretty cool. And as far as like the whole idea of him coming to the real world is concerned, I feel like in some ways this was done better than what we saw in the Sonic X animated series, which began back in 2004. And I believe that was in season one. Season two was pretty much like it was pretty much Sonic Adventure 2 as, an animated, television episodic series or whatever. But a lot of people, kind of don't really remember Sonic X from back in the day. Some people do, not everyone does. But I feel like Sonic the Hedgehog movie did a much better job than Sonic X from season one, at the whole having him come to Earth and, have to fight off various conflicts and save the Earth and all that stuff. So I think that was pretty cool. Um, the amount of um, the amount of money that went to this film actually was believe it was 95 million. I believe the film has been in development since 2013 or 2014, basically for the better part of the decade, of the teens decade. Pretty much, the film was in development, and a lot of people were skeptical in terms of how successful the film was going to be. And honestly, I think it's probably the best Sonic film that we've ever seen, and it's much better than the Mario Brothers movie, which came out back in the early '90s, which a lot of people said was absolutely horrible. But the thing is, Super Mario Brothers is actually supposed to be getting a new movie sometime in 2022. I believe that's what the rumors have confirmed, that we should be seeing a new Super Mario game in 20, or not game, a new Super Mario Brothers movie in 2022. But as far as whether or not that will be a much better film than the Sonic the Hedgehog movie remains to be seen. But based on critics, what they've said, and based on a lot of positive feedback that this film has received, it might be one of the best, I guess, video game based movies that we've seen thus far, in a decade just started. So who knows, how many more video game based films we're going to get throughout the 2020s decade. But as far as the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is concerned, this is something a lot of people have been waiting to see for a very long time. It's something that definitely exceeded their expectations, whether they admit it or not.